If you're one of 45 million Americans with outstanding federal student loans, you know there have been many changes to the program since the start of the pandemic. Now, there's a new plan for student loan forgiveness that you've probably heard about. That's what we're going to review in today's episode, number 743. Called What is the New Student Loan Relief Plan? I'll cover what you or a student loan borrower in your life needs to know, including tips to pay off education debt faster, even if you don't qualify for financial assistance. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Money Girl podcast. If you're a new listener, I want to really thank you for downloading the show. Being here means a lot to me. I know you have a lot of places to spend your time, and my goal is to make this very worthwhile for you. My name is Laura Adams. I'm an award-winning finance author who's hosted Money Girl since 2008. And I also work with select brands doing on-camera and voiceover work as a PR spokesperson, consumer advocate, and multimedia content creator. If you're interested in starting or growing a part-time side hustle or even a full-time business, I would love for you to check out my latest book. It's called Money Smart Solopreneur, a personal finance system for freelancers, entrepreneurs, and side hustlers. It's available as a paperback, ebook, or audiobook. And I'm thrilled that it was a #1 Amazon new release, and it's got lots of 5-star reviews from verified readers. One of them is Franklin L., who says, "Great book with tons of tips that can point you in the right direction and save you lots of time." And Ryan M. says, "As someone who used Laura's advice to start my own successful business and side hustle 3.5 years ago, I thought I knew it all. After reading this book, I was wrong. There are so many good nuggets of information. The book goes into detail about taxes, retirement accounts, business structure, optimization, etc. I love that it goes into every scenario in starting a business, whether big or small, and that you can pick the scenario to tailor the information to your personal situation. This book would be perfect not only for the person starting out, but also the person who wants to improve their existing business." Wow. Thank you so much, Franklin and Ryan, for your kind words and for being readers. I really appreciate it. All right. Before we dive into the new student loan relief plan, I want to briefly review what's happened since the pandemic began in terms of student loans. As stay-at-home mandates rolled out and the unemployment rate spiked, it became very clear that borrowers were going to need some immediate financial assistance. So in March 2020, the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, also known as the CARES Act, became law. It suspended payments. It stopped collections on defaulted loans, and it set the interest rate to 0% for loans owned by the U.S. Department of Education through September 30, 2020. Now, that forbearance deadline got extended multiple times. I don't even remember how many, at least 3, maybe 4. And now under the latest relief plan that we're talking about, it's set to expire at the end of 2022. That means borrowers are going to have to prepare to start making payments in January 2023 unless your entire loan balance gets forgiven. And I'm going to talk a lot more about who qualifies for that in just a moment. But let me just remind you which types of loans qualify for relief. They are direct loans. These are either unsubsidized or subsidized, direct plus loans, direct consolidation loans, federal family education loans, or FFEL, and federal Perkins loans. Now, private student loans don't qualify, and Perkins loans that were issued by your school instead of the federal government also do not qualify for forbearance or forgiveness under the CARES plan or under the new plan that we're talking about that has been proposed. So if your student loan is one of those that I mentioned and it qualifies for relief, you should have seen your automatic payments stop, or you should have been contacted by your lender back in March 2020. And by the way, if you continued making payments, even if you didn't have to, if you continued making payments, they should have been applied fully to your principal loan balance, helping you whittle it down faster. But I want to make the point that if you did make payments during the CARES forbearance and, what is still continuing through the end of 2022, but now you wish you hadn't made those payments, you can contact your loan servicer and apply for a payment refund, okay? So this goes all the way back to payments, made, I believe, starting in March 2020, maybe April 1st of 2020. Your lender can definitely clarify that for you. So, any that you wish you hadn't made, they, by that act, are required to refund them to you if you change your mind and say, you know what, I'd rather have that money in the bank than paying it toward my loan. Also, any skipped payments during the relief period still count toward loan forgiveness programs that you qualify for. So it's like you made the payment when you really didn't. Also, they get reported to the credit agencies as an on-time payment. So there's a lot of good relief, happening behind the CARES Act when it comes to student loans. And I want to be clear that President Biden's student loan forgiveness plan is still just a plan. Right now, as of this podcast, in the beginning of September 2022, it's still just a proposal by executive order. Some of the plan's critics say that Biden doesn't have the authority to cancel a federal debt and that it could face legal challenges. So that's kind of TBD. But we're going to assume that it is going to get implemented. And so if the plan does go through either by executive action or by legislation, it applies to federal student loan borrowers based on your income, either in 2020 or in 2021. You get to choose the year. So, if by chance in just one of those years, your income is below the threshold, that's the year you want to choose to submit on your application. You don't have to qualify in both of the years. Just one of them is fine. So single taxpayers who earned less than $125,000 or married joint filers who earned $250,000 or less will be eligible for up to $10,000 in forgiveness. And again, those income thresholds could have applied for you either in 2020 or in 2021. It doesn't count for 2022 because we haven't done our taxes yet for this year. So right now, your current year income is not what's going to qualify you or disqualify you. You got to go back a couple years or at least 1 year to 2021. Also, if you received a Pell Grant in college and you meet the income requirements that I just mentioned, you can get a cancellation of up to $20,000. Now, note that if your debt is less than the relief amount, such as, let's say you owe $3,000 in federal loans, you would only receive $3,000 for your loan. You're not going to receive $10,000. So it's just going up to the amount of debt you have that would qualify. What's really important to remember about the plan is that most borrowers must apply for relief because you've got to prove your income for 2020 or 2021. Now, there is an exception, and that's for student loan borrowers who are already in an income-based repayment plan, because in that case, the Department of Education already knows your income and they know whether you're eligible or not. So, for everybody else, and that's the vast majority of folks with student loans, you're going to need to take an action to get your forgiveness. And right now you can go to studentaid.gov. That's probably the best place to get information, up-to-date information about, what you're going to need to do. But right now, all of that is pending. And when we know for sure if this plan is really going to happen, there will be a website where you can just do this online and, find out your eligibility. And a common question that comes up is, well, am I going to have to pay taxes on this forgiven debt? And discharged or canceled debt typically does get taxed as income. However, for this plan, for student loans forgiven from 2021 through 2025, they will not be taxable under this new proposed plan. But depending on where you live, you may owe state income taxes. Now, some states are looking at also making this forgiven debt non-taxable, but that may not be the case in every state. So be sure that you understand what your tax liability is on any canceled debt, depending on your state's law. The new forgiveness plan also proposes other benefits for federal student loan borrowers, including lower payments for income-based repayment plans. What it's proposing is to reduce payments from 10%, where it is right now, of monthly discretionary income down to 5%. So that's a pretty good benefit. If you are part of an income-based repayment plan, that would significantly reduce the monthly payment on undergraduate loans. Plus, the plan would guarantee that no borrower earning under 225% of the federal poverty level would have to make a monthly payment. So that would guarantee that low-income folks would not have to make a payment at all if they are in a financial hardship. And student loan balances would also be automatically forgiven after 10 years of payments instead of after 20 years of payments, and that's for borrowers with loan balances of $12,000 or less. My point is there are multiple parts of this proposed plan. It goes really a lot further than just the actual cancellation of debt. Now, if you're worried that you are not going to qualify for cancellation, or you are going to get cancellation of $10,000, but you still got tons more debt to repay, and you're concerned that you're going to have to start making those payments starting in 2023, I want to encourage you to investigate your options now, such as an income-driven repayment plan. Even though you don't have to make payments right now, if you get enrolled in one of these plans, when the calendar flips and we're in January, that may mean that you don't have to make a payment, or you may have a substantially reduced payment based on your income. So you can find out from your loan servicer what your options are depending on your income and your family size. So don't hesitate to give your lender a call and just say, hey, what are my options here? This is my income. I'm concerned that even if my $10,000 of my debt is forgiven, I still am going to be struggling to make payments. They can really work with you to let you know what your options are. And if you're already on an income-based repayment plan and your income dropped, so let's say before the pandemic, you were already on an income-based repayment, but now you're making even less, you want to make sure to update your information so you can get a new lower payment based on your current financial situation. And I mentioned that direct consolidation loans are one of the types that are eligible for relief. The government offers consolidation loans when you've got more than one federal student loan. The interest rate becomes a weighted average of all of your loan rates. So you're not necessarily going to save any interest on doing a consolidation. However, it could allow you to turn a non-qualifying loan into one that qualifies for relief. So if you have any federal loan that did not qualify for relief under the CARES Act for any reason, you should also consider whether consolidating into a direct consolidation loan would work in your favor, because now that type of loan would be eligible for relief. Again, you want to always speak with your loan servicer to learn more about the pros and cons of student loan consolidation. Now, we haven't talked about private student loans. What if you've got lots of private debt that is, really causing a hardship for you? Well, you may qualify to refinance private loans for a lower interest rate, which could cut your monthly payment. So I would definitely recommend looking into maybe looking at a couple of different lenders that do student loan, refinancing, and see if it's possible to get a lower interest rate. There are some student loan lenders that may refinance both federal and private student loans together. So you do want to talk to your federal student loan servicer about, what you could be giving up if you roll that loan into either a federal consolidation loan or a private refinance, because it could mean that you lose some valuable benefits. However, remember that a private lender will evaluate your current financial information for a new loan or for a refinance. So, you might not get approved if you're dealing with a financial hardship. Every lender's underwriting requirements for refinancing are different. So you need to shop around and compare offers from several different lenders to ensure you're getting the best deal. Okay, let's talk about some tips for paying off your student loans faster. If your finances are in good shape and you want to pay off your federal or private student loans faster, ahead of schedule, consider the following options. One is to automate payments. This is not only going to make it easy to make sure your payments get made on time, but some lenders will actually offer a lower interest rate when you agree to have those payments drafted from your bank account. Now, it may not be a huge discount, but even if it's 0.25%, that can add up over time to, some savings, and that's worth doing. Another option is to make bi-weekly payments instead of monthly payments. The deal with bi-weekly payments is that it's just a clever way to make sure that you get in an extra full monthly payment every year. And you're taking advantage of the fact that there are 52 weeks in a year, not 48. So if you're paying every other week instead of once a month, you end up getting an extra full payment made each year. Another way is just to make sure that you're paying more than the minimum each month. If you pay extra, though, please make sure that your lender knows it should get applied to your principal balance. And you may even need to make a note on your payment online, or if you're mailing in a paper check, make a note that it is to get applied to the principal. Otherwise, the lender may just consider it a prepayment for the following month, and they may hold it in escrow. And that's not going to help you pay down the debt faster because it's just sitting in escrow and not getting applied to your actual loan balance. Also, send your cash windfalls to your debt. So if you get a raise, a bonus, maybe a cash gift, a tax refund, use that to pay down your debt. As long as you've got emergency savings and you're in fairly good financial shape. If not, you definitely want to use that cash windfall to beef up your emergency fund. But if you've got a pretty healthy emergency fund already, definitely consider not spending the cash on a luxury and sending that cash in to pay down a high interest debt. And lastly, use workplace student loan benefits. So find out if your current or maybe a prospective employer offers benefits to repay your student loans faster. And if you're looking for a new job, definitely ask about that as part of the benefits package. A lot of kind of progressive companies are doing that for workers because they know most people are struggling with student loan debt. And that could really make the difference between maybe going with employer A versus employer B. So to wrap things up, we have a pending student loan relief plan that looks pretty good if it actually happens. You can count on having up to $10,000 of debt canceled or forgiven as long as your income is below that $125,000 limit per person, or double that if you are married and file taxes jointly. That would be $250,000 total for your household income. So as long as your income is below those limits and you've got an eligible federal student loan, this could be good news for you. And before we go, I'd love to connect with you on Twitter. If we're not already connected, please go to @LauraAdams. That's my handle on Twitter. Also, I'm on Instagram @LauraDAdams, and you can visit lauradadams.com. That's my personal site where you can use my contact page and learn more about my work, books, and money courses. All right, that's all for now. I'll talk to you next week. Until then, here's to living a richer life. Money Girl is a quick and dirty tips podcast. It's audio engineered by Steve Rickyberg with editing by Adam Cecil. Our advertising operations specialist is Morgan Christensen. Our digital operations specialist is Holly Hutchins. And our marketing and publicity assistant is Davina Tomlin.